Hey everybody, thanks for coming back to another video. Today we're taking a look at my progress on Sweet Pea. And here you can see I am building out a little level. I'm not actually controlling Sweet Pea here, he just does his own thing. But I've got this thing set up. The UI obviously is not final. But it's essentially like a little terrarium that you can toss your sweet peas into and then decorate. And I made this over a couple days. I was starting to feel a little bit of burnout because I've been working so hard on this game, and I wanted to do something a little different just for a night. That's usually whenever I end up making some really cool little side projects, but I wanted to stay focused on the game at the same time. So what did I do? I just built a new element to the game. I got this idea from my loading levels. Like I have little loading sections. I'll show you those in a minute, but I have it's just blank, and I thought it would be nice to have it decorated and have the player be able to decorate that. So this actual like module or mode is not in the game yet. I've still got some work to do for it, but it blew up pretty big. It's relatively robust. You can bring in interactive objects, NPCs. It's dropped in a zombie P there. So, you know, not just set dressing and music and backgrounds, but also actual functional objects. You can kind of actually sit and hand feed your peas, bottles, and butterflies, which is nice. And you see we just had another one spawn in, so right now it's set so every 2 minutes, I believe, a randomly generated pea spawns in. And there are a bunch of variations. Oh, there's that interactivity. They all got blown up by the podberry. Yep, I hit a button and it just restarts, and you can build a bunch of different scenarios. I've already built like some kind of dark dungeon looking areas and you know, very bright, pretty little towns and forests. So let's hop back into the game proper and see what improvements we've made there. First things first, optimizations. I've made a ridiculous amount of little optimizations that I feel have gone a long way. That is one thing that the game's needed for a while, and of course I'll continue to do that. But levels are loading much quicker. There's not as much frame drop and jitter, and also the UI. I've done a complete menu rework. Before you had to shift between panels, and it was confusing. So now I have everything laid out in front of you. This is with everything unlocked. When you first start the game, I'll show you that in a minute, you have one panel of 4 abilities. And you see they all pop up and tell you what they do, except for the last panel, which still needs pop-ups. As you can see, the powers and abilities are much more easily accessible this way. Everything's much faster and snappier, which is nice, and I am going to continue to work on that. I've also added a death counter, which is pretty cool, and then for each zone, you'll essentially get a list of how many bottles you collected from that zone and how many bottles were possible to collect. So what I just did there was skip the level forward, and I did that again. Normally that would take a good 15 seconds to be able to load in, and as you can see, it was pretty much instantaneous at this point, which is good. That's those optimizations coming back into play. So at this point, I am sitting at 47 levels. A good chunk of them are these cannon zones, which are optional. You have to collect a special bottle type, usually either in the boss zones or just before that. And then I have one other sort of hidden optional zone. $47's not bad at all. The original goal was 50. I'm gonna try and stick with that, but I can't promise that I won't add more areas, just because it's fun to make games. Let's see. Oh, another improvement we have is essentially if you do not have the appropriate amount of bottles to use your abilities, then a pop-up will let you know that you do not have enough bottles. That's something that I've noticed a lot of streamers were running into, and it's totally understandable because games can throw a lot at you at once, and I designed this game not to hold your hand, and I'm always going to do that. I'm just not a fan of the hand-holding. However, I understand we all gotta meet in the middle. So, I have tried to put pop-ups and sort of guide you in the appropriate direction. But yeah, I like to keep it minimal. I want the player to figure out what is possible in the game. And particularly with this game and the abilities, experimentation with those abilities can be very fruitful. You can produce a lot of cool effects by combining things, using things at the right time, using your environment appropriately. There are instances where there, may be water below that will hurt you, as well as, a blockage and potential hazards up above, and you could essentially launch yourself, freeze that water, and then use the lack of friction on ice and slide under all those hazards. There are a bunch of instances of essentially being able to wreckage ride. So you see the pop-up there. You don't have enough bottles. But yes, there are a whole bunch of things you can do. The pop berries at late game are integral to winning, so they can be used as a tool or a hazard throughout the game, but particularly like mid to late game, they become a necessity to learn how to use to your advantage to be able to push forward, because we essentially have creatures that can just outpace your normal ability to move. So you literally have to use the explosive force of the pop berries and, trigger them via proximity in a much more thoughtful way. So the game starts out relatively easy and relatively simple. As you saw, we start out with just the one panel, and every new area we move to, there are 3 zones per area, and then 1 boss, and then 1 optional cannon zone. At every new area we move to, you gain a new panel of powers. I also reworked when you unlock what ability. In this particular case, you get the burst ability up front because it's extremely helpful for dealing with Gunther, which is the first boss. And he can be very difficult if you get unlucky. Anyway, another way to check up on the updates, as always, is just going here to the Sweet Pea Steam page, and you can see in the patch notes, I have been releasing pretty detailed patch notes for every major patch. Unless it's just a couple bug fixes, I try and do this, and there is actually a good bit of information, including screenshots, breakdown of different bugs that have been addressed, different features that have been added, and obviously you can kind of line those up with the dates and see the progress of the game. The game has grown pretty dramatically over the past few months, pretty much since we threw up my Steam page. If you like what you see, come check it out and wishlist, and also like, share, and subscribe on the YouTube channel, please. It is a small channel, and I'm trying to grow it and gain more awareness and hopefully be able to make more awesome games. I appreciate your time. I hope everybody stays safe. Take it easy. Bye now.